If you've ever felt like you've done everything right, the cardio, the calorie deficit, the clean eating, and still looked in the mirror and thought, why does my body not reflect how hard I am working? This episode is for you.
And before you spiral into another round of, what am I doing wrong? Let us save you the mental gymnastics. You are not broken, you're not lazy, and you're not lacking discipline. You've been handed a strategy that was never going to work by people who profit off of you believing that it would. So today, we're going to talk about what's actually going on, what you actually want, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it.
Welcome back to the Overthinking Podcast, the show for women navigating fitness and health in a world that makes everything way more complicated than it needs to be. I'm Bri,
And I'm Kelsie.
and if you're here, chances are you're sick and tired of overthinking every fitness trend that demands us to shrink and has us feeling like we're failing at a system that never wanted to see us win.
This podcast is your space for honest conversations and evidence based guidance so you can stop spiraling and finally live the healthy, full life that you know you deserve. Today, we're talking about body recomposition. And I promise by the end of this episode, that number you've been letting ruin your mornings is just going to mean a hell of a lot less to you than when you press play today.
I need everyone listening to hear me say this. If you've been frustrated doing everything and seeing nothing change, you did not fail. The plan failed. You've been running someone else's playbook your whole damn life and wondering why the score isn't changing. That is not a willpower problem. That is a strategy problem. So let's get into it. I want to start at the beginning. Okay. Let me set the scene because most of us have been here in this exact position where you decide you want to lose the weight. You've seen the before and afters on Instagram. You've read maybe some articles in a newspaper or a magazine, and you followed some different accounts, right? Fitness girlies. And the message is kind of always the same: move more and eat less. And so you do. You run, you cut carbs, you're now counting your calories and whittling it down to 1,200 calories a day. And you feel like you're doing the right thing also because it's painful, it hurts. And for a minute, the scale moves. So then you keep going.
And I think we should pause here for a minute because I have lived this or some version of this. And I think most women listening to this have also. Those first few weeks of a deficit feel like proof that the plan is working. You get excited, the scale starts to go down, your jeans get a little looser, maybe you can fit into a pair that you once used to. You get a compliment from someone who hasn't seen you in a month. Your brain locks in like, this is it. This is the answer. Eat less, continue to eat less. I move a little more, suffer a little. I'm winning, right? But that early progress isn't a sustainable signal. It's kind of a setup and one that has a plateau if you don't have the right strategy.
And here's the thing that nobody told you and is probably not going to tell you other than this podcast. When you are in a significant caloric deficit without prioritizing protein and specifically resistance training, yeah, the scale goes down. But what you're losing is not just fat. You're also losing muscle. And that is why this is such a massive problem and such a horrible place for us women to get stuck in. Muscle is your biggest metabolism controllable, or lever to pull, however you want to say it. But the more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. So when you crash diet, cut all your calories without lifting, you shrink, yes, but so does your metabolism. It starts slowing down because you're decreasing muscle mass. Your body's starting to use that muscle for fuel. And in many cases, your body fat percentage actually goes up. And you're like, oh my God, I'm working so hard, but the body fat percentage went up. If the number on the scale is still lower, and this is what we call skinny fat, when your weight is down, but your muscle is also down. So your body fat ratio is actually higher than you started. So this is why we need muscle, not only like for longevity and for our metabolism strength, but also because there isn't enough muscle to offset the body fat on your body fat percentage.
And I think we should hold on for a second because what you just said is really important. And I think that's what our listeners really need to hear is you can actually weigh less and have a higher body fat percentage than when you started. So the scale is telling you that you quote unquote succeeded while your body composition has actually maybe probably gotten worse. And that is the entire scam of weight focused dieting.
Yeah, the vicious cycle that you've been stuck in, that Kelsey and I have been stuck in before, the one that looks like starting and stopping a diet. Well, now your metabolism is probably slower than when you started. You regain the weight and then some, and the cycle starts over. Is this sounding painfully familiar to anybody else?
Raise your hand if you've been
Raise your
personally
hand if you've been personally
victimized.
victimized by weight focused dieting.
Yeah. And I think we should back this up with research because that's what we're all about, right? Knowing the facts and backing it up with receipts. I think someone listening right now is probably going, okay, this is true, but you guys are just two girls with microphones. Fair. Yes, we are, but we're also ladies with receipts. So there is a 2024 systematic review that looked at calorie restriction interventions. The caveat here is that these diets were 900 calories. So we know that that's extremely low. And what they found was that they were significantly associated with muscle mass loss, meaning the weight that people lost on these traditional low calorie diets is not just pure fat. So they are losing the very tissue that kept their metabolism boosted and going.
This is 2024. So this is like this is current research, folks. And you know what? We know this to be true because we know that muscle is so metabolically expensive to maintain. That's why we always say muscle is your best insurance policy for body composition and for metabolism. This doesn't mean there's never a time and a place for a calorie deficit. It just means it has to be part of like a bigger picture. And it just means that there is a point of diminishing returns. You can't just endlessly be in a caloric deficit and endlessly be cutting your calories more and more. The deeper and more aggressive the cut is, the more muscle you have at risk of sacrificing. And that is why we say minimum effective dose for training. And so if you're sitting there frustrated with a couple months away from summertime and you're like, I've been working so hard and my body is not the way I want it to be, it's most likely not a willpower problem. It is a strategy problem. You've been playing the wrong game entirely, and it's really not your fault because it's a big multi-billion-dollar industry that is creating these messages that you see.
Right. And this is generally what makes us a little insane because I'm sure everybody has heard move more, eat less, right? It's everywhere. It's every headline, every well meaning doctor's advice. But let's break down why this is not just oversimplified, but actively working against people and women specifically.
Okay, let me break down the movement piece first. Let's start with the quote, move more. And that the problem isn't the advice to move more, it's the default assumption that movement means cardio. Like the cycling classes, running, metcons, hit classes, F45, Orange Theory. And look, there is a time and a place for all of these, even the last two. But if your primary goal is body composition and recomposition, cardio alone is not going to get you there. What actually does change body composition is resistance training. I say this all the time. Energy balance determines the size of your body, but the type of training you do determines the contour of your body. And so, specifically lifting in a hypertrophy zone, when you lift at the right stimulus, two things happen. One, you tap into your glycogen stores and you send your body a very loud signal that muscle is worth keeping. This signal that you get in your brain, it actually changes everything. It changes how you respond to food, it changes how your body partitions calories, and it changes what happens when you eventually do eat in a deficit. So the lifting is actually what makes everything else work for the body you want.
Yeah. And as far as that aerobic work that you were talking about, it's not useless. We just want to be smart about what kind, how much, frequency. And the research is really clear that lower intensity, steady state aerobic work, otherwise known as zone two, is where your body is most efficiently using fat as its primary fuel. So that's not HIT training, it's not a boot camp or F45, it's not sprints. It's actually that long walk, or like you say all the time, steps, getting your steps in, where you can hold a conversation. It's that bike ride that won't leave you wrecked. It's a casual, leisurely stroll. There's actually a 2025 systematic review that looked at exercise and the intensity of maximal fat oxidation, which lines up with that lower intensity aerobic work. and found significant reductions in body fat percentage, fat mass, and body weight across 19 randomized controlled trials. So, science backs up what coaches like Brie and I have been saying for years.
Right. And the walk is doing more than your spin class. Okay. I know you love the little tap it back at your soul cycle, but the reality is that if you've spent the last 5 years grinding it out in a 6 a.m. hit class, thinking that was the answer, only to like delay your eating until it's just a juice. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm down for my calories from the day, up on my calories for the day. Amazing. But then the walk plus the lifting is the actual recipe, not the cardio bender.
And if you refer to our last episode where we break down all of the diets, you know that it's not because you're intermittent fasting. It all comes to how your metabolism works.
Yes. So now that we've broken down the movement piece, let's talk about the eat less piece because that is the piece that might be the most damaging advice that has ever been given to women trying to change their bodies. Okay. When you eat less chronically, significantly less, like I have, and maybe a lot of us have as well, a few things start to happen. One, your body starts to adapt. We said this on every episode. Your body adapts to the stimulus you give it, including food. So your metabolism will, in fact, start down regulating with the little amount of calories you're giving it. So then your hunger hormone spikes, the gremlin. And number two, cognitive load of restriction is enormous. So every time you're white knuckling a meal and you're like at a social gathering or I don't know, with your friends and you're just like, "Ugh, I want to have the snacks." And eventually, for most people, that restriction is going to break. You're going to break at some point because it's not a willpower game. The pendulum eventually swings hard in the other direction into the biggest binge restrict cycle that is almost impossible to escape sometimes. And it's not a character flaw. It is a physiological and psychological response to you depriving your body. And your body is so good at keeping you alive.
Totally. And we see this with clients all the time. Women who come to us convinced that they have zero willpower, zero discipline, that she's the problem. Maybe something's wrong with her. Maybe it's her hormones, right? This may sound familiar. And when we actually look at what she's been eating, it might be 1,400 calories, 1,200 calories, sometimes less. She's also lifting, she's working a job, she's parenting. And then on Friday night, the wheels fall off and she eats half a pizza and then feels guilty about it on Saturday morning. That is not a willpower issue. That is a body that's been deprived and starved for 5 days straight. And finally, the weekend hits and shit hits the fan. That's not a moral failing. It's biology doing exactly what it's supposed to.
Yeah. And the research actually backs this up. Dietary restraint, like restricting yourself from main food groups or types of foods, has been shown to increase the likelihood of binge eating, particularly when paired with negative emotions or cognitive depletion, like when we're at our absolute wits' end when we're stressed. The resource depletion model tells us that restriction is genuinely cognitively taxing, like actually wears down your self regulation over time. So it's again, not that you lack discipline, it's that you are using a strategy that was designed to fail.
Which is why I say sometimes you need a sweet treat every day.
Exactly.
If you're the type of person that's like, I can't have sugar, I'm trying to be good, right? You're just entering that slippery slope of binge and restrict. So let's just say the quiet part out loud because I think it needs to be said. We've all been set up. The advice we were handed, quote unquote, move more, eat less, is not just oversimplified. It's biologically and psychologically rigged against us. The exercise piece is vague and it leads you to believe that cardio will actually change your body if you just move more. And the food piece guarantees that you'll eventually break and blame yourself for it. And that whole industry profits when you do.
Ugh. So basically, we're just set up to fail by the advice we've been given. Okay, Kelsey, let's give the people what they actually want and what they came to this episode for. And that what you want is body recomposition, sis. And I bet that I ask you, what do you want? You're probably going to say, I want to lose weight. And you don't actually mean that you want to weigh less. You're like, those last couple pounds, I just want to shed those last couple pounds. No, what you're saying is you want to look leaner. You want to look fitter. You want to feel strong. You want the clothes to fit you differently. You want a toned athletic body that actually reflects the effort that you put in the gym. And so what you want is called body recomposition. And recomposition is not just about losing weight, it's actually two things happening simultaneously. You are losing body fat while you are gaining muscle at the same time. And when you do the same both at the same time, the scale barely moves and your body looks totally different because a pound of muscle versus a pound of body fat take up very different amounts of space in your body.
Yeah. And this is the thing that we want every woman listening to this to sit with for a second. The goal you have been chasing your entire life, quote unquote, be smaller, lose weight, be the same weight that you were in college, is may not actually be the goal that you have. The goal is to feel strong in your body, to take up space, right? To put on a pair of jeans that makes you feel like a fucking weapon. That is what you want. So if we can agree on that goal, now we have to talk about how to actually get there. So, and it's a lot simpler than you've been led to believe.
So let's talk about how Recomp actually works and how to actually achieve it now and forever as an actual viable strategy. And I want to be clear, this is not just bro science. This is backed by research and is exactly how we coach our clients. So, step one, lift weights in a hypertrophy zone. There's a lot of different ways we can achieve hypertrophy. We talked about this in the last episode, but essentially it's around 8 to 12 rep range with progressive overload, biasing compound movements. You're not trying to burn calories in this session. You are trying to build muscle. You're trying to lift heavy. You are trying to go to your edge. And calorie burn is just a natural side effect of a session like this. Muscle is the goal.
Right. And step two, this is what you eat to make that lifting actually do something for you. And here's the part that's going to surprise some people. You do not need to be in a massive calorie deficit. You should be in a modest one if that's your goal. Roughly 5 to 10% below your maintenance. Eat enough so that your body continues to mobilize body fat as fuel, but not so much that you're compromising your ability to recover, to build muscle, and show up to your next training session prepared and ready. And that's the piece that contradicts everything we've been told for decades. So, and research actually now backs this up. You can actually build muscle in a calorie deficit when protein is high enough and resistance training is consistent. You do not have to spend years bulking and cutting, bulking and cutting. This was like the kind of thinking when you and I were coming up, and maybe you followed this even till this day. But you can do these things at the same time. It may take a little longer, but your process will be so much more enjoyable.
Yes. And you can just keep your variables more dialed in, right? Finding a system that's repeatable. And then step three, protein first, always. And we're talking about zero point 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're a 150-pound woman, you're looking to have 150 grams of protein a day. And protein is the most satiating macronutrient, and it also has the highest thermic effect of any food. And I want to touch on that. Thermic effect means that when you're actually eating the food, your body has to use more energy to break it down and assimilate it to nutrients. So all the little almond mommies who said that eat celery, it helps you burn calories, like sure, but it's not negative calories. Actually, eating protein, it also has it is the literal building block of the muscle you're trying to gain, and without it your body will eat your muscle until you do give it protein. But yes, you are not eating less, you need to start eating more of the right things, and that's a very important piece to the nutrition conversation at Recomp, because your hunger will go up a little bit, or it could. And so having protein and eating it first is kind of like a natural GLP-1. If you eat your protein first, you start releasing more of your satiety hormone.
Yep. And of course, we've got the receipts to back this up. There's actually some fresh studies, systematic reviews in 2025 that reported simultaneous muscle gain and fat loss that is achievable through strategic combination of high protein intakes and resistance training even during calorie restriction. Studies consistently show that muscle mass can be maintained or increased during fat loss phases when these variables are optimized. So, when we say lift heavy, eat protein, and be in a modest calorie deficit, we're not just making it up, we're showing up with receipts.
And I know what you all are asking right now, but what about cardio? Are we ditching it entirely?
Ish.
No, we're not. We're just saying to right size it. Like it's not the Beyonce that we all thought it was in the 90s, okay? Strategic zone 2 work though, Yeah, that's the real Beyonce. 2 to 3 times per week, 30 to 45 minutes, conversational pace, like, not quite broken sentences, but, like, you could hold a conversation that's a little bit breathy. That is your aerobic base, and that is
You
what
and your
support
So you and your best girl gal pal get on the stair climbers next to each other and have a little conversation
it will make the time go by so much faster. When you do cardio by yourself, it's every minute's like a microwave minute, and then when you're with a
every minute.
friend, yeah, you're like, "Oh my god, like, we just did 45 minutes." Okay, but the reality about zone 2 work is it supports fat oxidation, and fat oxidation means it's your body using fat as its energy. Cardiovascular health and recovery also are great with cardio, so if you're feeling a little bit swollen, you have slow digestion, motility, if your muscles aren't recovering and you're super sore, walking zone 2 is going to help all of that because we're pushing a bunch of fresh blood into your joints. We're also supporting, the introduction of synovial fluid into the joints. So the more zone 2 work you do, better blood flow you have. And we're moving away from this idea that cardio is your primary composition tool and not running yourself into the ground trying to burn off what you ate. Like, remember those memes around Halloween that's like, "Every Reese's peanut butter cup is 25 burpees."
How could we forget?
That is this culture 101. Like, that is
That's
so messed up.
that's treason, honestly.
It's treason, and that is just not a sustainable strategy, and it does not produce and it's not reasonable, and it doesn't produce the aesthetic that you're trying to go after. So,
Right.
now we know lifting is the main event, and zone 2 work is truly the supporting cast. They go hand in hand, they work together.
So here's the shift that we want you to take away with from this episode, because I think this is the most freeing feeling that we can share with you. You've been trained to watch one number, right? Your weight. Look at the scale. The amount of times that I've had clients feeling really excited about their progress after a month or two in the gym with me, they're lifting, they're seeing their strength go up, and then they're like, oh, I was so excited and now I'm frustrated because the scale said it didn't move. And I'm like, well, we were just excited 5 seconds ago. Why? Why the change? You thought you were seeing progress in your body and the way that your arms look and the way that you're seeing those oblique lines. Why does the scale have this hold on us? It will always be the enemy because it will never be low enough. That's the arrival fallacy. You talk about this all the time. That
Yes.
goalpost will keep moving. You're you might hit that goal weight, right? And then you still don't like how you feel or look. So that goalpost moves again and again. And that is not a path to freedom. There is no happiness at that end. That is the path to obsession.
And this is the single most important thing in this episode. Your relationship with the scale is just not a productive one. It is a daily mood regulator that decides whether or not you're going to have a successful day or you're going to be a failure that day, based on literally a piece of plastic in your bathroom that is like a gravity metric. It is not a self worth metric. The scale can't tell you how strong you're getting. The scale can't tell you your body fat percentage. And the scale can't tell you how resilient you're keeping your bone mass. So this is what we want you to watch instead. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's your lean body mass and also your skeletal muscle mass. These are the numbers we actually want to see going up. And if you can imagine your whole life wanting to see the scale go down, it's real nice when you want to see a number go up.
Right?
So, I do wanna tell a little short story because all of my time at True Health, we've been giving DEXA scans as part of our onboarding assessment, and every client that and especially my women, when we're sitting in the DEXA room and they're like, "Oh, what did I get? What did I get?" And I'm like, "Well, what are you asking about?" And of course, they're asking about their body fat percentage, right? And so I asked them, like, "Well, what do you think it is?" And it's never right. It's like if they've never done one before, it's literally all over the place. So, what we want you to do is actually use a DEXA scan because I can tell this client to the gram, your body has 108 pounds of of lean body mass of that, 150 pounds or whatever she weighs. And I say, when I see you in 4 weeks, or sorry, 4 months, and we retest again, I want to see that number go up. Like the whitewash on these women, like 60, 75 years old, being like, what? You want me to see the number go up? It's really special.
It, this is important because it goes beyond aesthetics. This number is your longevity metric. Skeletal mass is one of the strongest predictors of how long you will live, how well you'll function as you age. All cause mortality, that means death from any cause, is significantly higher in people with low skeletal muscle mass. So, this is not just about vanity. Vanity is the side effect of looking and of doing all the things that we're talking about in this episode. This is about your life and your ability to maintain independence as you age.
In fact, research, again, because we have the receipts, supports this too. In a systematic review and meta analysis of almost 81,000 participants, showed that low skeletal muscle mass index was associated with a 57% increase of all cause mortality. So, of all the things that can kill you, 55% of that risk went up. The risk was even higher in people with elevated BMI, which we don't really look at BMI, but they don't have as much report for body fat percentage.
Well,
So
when those 2 things are looked at together, we can draw some reasonable conclusions from those. That's why a lot of things don't exist in a vacuum.
so this is not a coaching opinion. This is your muscle that is literally the tissue that keeps you alive and keeps you stronger.
57% of higher risk of dying is pretty crazy if you have low muscle mass. So when we tell you to lift heavy, we are not talking about just how you look in a sundress in the summer, right?
No,
We
we're
all want
saving your
that.
life. We're saving
We
your
all
life.
want that. Yeah, we all want that. We're talking about whether you can pick up your future grandkids without throwing your back out. We are talking about whether you can walk into your 60s strong or whether you want to spend your 60s scared of falling, right? And I think it's important to mention, like, to a lot of women who don't have access to a DEXA, maybe they don't know where to go, or yeah, they're not free. So if you don't want to pay for it, that's okay. If that's you, you're not out of luck here. The scale is still the wrong tool, but we have other tools in the toolkit. We can do things like measuring or looking at how your clothes fit. We can do progress photos. That's probably where I would lead you first. Make sure it's the same lighting, same positions every time that you do it, right? Like try to have a natural light. That's what I would say, like in front of a window with a plain background. Um, I would probably opt for something in like a bikini or sports bra and shorts. That way you can actually see those lines develop as you go through your process. Other things we can look at, right? Like whether you can do a push up or a pull up, whether you can carry your groceries all in one trip without getting winded. Those are all body composition signals and their performance signals. And these are way more reliable than a number on the scale, and they will keep you consistently going to the gym.
Absolutely. Pro tip for progress photos, the only way I was able to stay consistent with those was actually keeping the bikini that I was taking my photos in the bathroom and then scheduling that time with yourself to make sure that you are remembering because there is going to be a little bit of a cognitive dissonance. Like you don't actually want to take the photo because it is scary and it can be vulnerable, but it is the most important thing. When I take on a new client, I'm like, unless there's some sort of disordered thing going on that we need to be sensitive to, I'm like, take the progress photos because you're gonna be so glad you had them in like 6 weeks. Just please take them, send them to me, delete them from your phone. And then also with the clothing, like if you're not comfortable sending your coach photos in a bikini, then just choose like your favorite dress or shirt or something that has felt really uncomfortable. Maybe even your favorite pair of jeans, and then keep those and try those on so that you kind of know where you're getting to. And here's the wild part. When you focus on building lean body mass and when you start eating more protein and you start lifting heavier and stop trying to shrink, the body fat percentage actually goes down. So all the people who are so afraid of getting bulky are actually getting better body fat percentages because there's now way more muscle to offset it. So you didn't lose another pound of fat. You just built another pound of muscle and the ratio shifted. But the catch is your clothes fit differently. Things don't feel like they're cutting into you anymore. You look leaner because you are leaner, and the scale might have not have moved a single pound. In fact, you might even be a pound heavier. Probably not with an effective recomp, but it does happen. And that is true recomposition. It has nothing to do with the scale.
And I will just add that you will, no matter how lean you will always have clothes that dig into you. Okay. Like just get stuff that actually fits you and get stuff that stretches, right? Like this is why they make lines specifically for people who lift, people that have curves, because you might have a narrow waist with like big ol' hips, right? Like, you might be pulling a wagon.
Shout out to the Abercrombie rebrand though, like, some of the Abercrombie
Speaking of
jeans.
Abercrombie, the whole time.
Oh my god, Abercrombie is, like, now the exact company that gave me '90s trauma about carbs and being skinny is now saving me with, like, my favorite pairs of jeans and favorite pairs of
Yeah.
pants.
They're like, "Okay, girl, you're pulling a wagon. Here's a tiny waist, huge hips." Yeah, that's me. I need a 25 waist and a 27 hip or whatever
And
it
they're
is.
like,
I don't know.
"Oh, we got the curve love." Like, "Yeah, I love these curves." Like, "What are you talking
Yes,
about?"
that's exactly the ones that I get too.
Yes. Okay. So let's start talking about the scale is very much a you versus you battle that you'll never win because the goalpost keeps moving and yada yada. But choose goalposts that actually do matter. So spend the extra $50 and go search find a DEXA scan on Google. Or look at your performance. Maybe taking a beat away from the scale is actually going to do you way better and you're going to have a way easier time achieving your next goal if you just focus on the number on the bar or the protein on your plate or how much muscle you can see instead of the body fat you can see in the muscle. And the years you'll get back on the other end of all of it is going to be so worth it. And the cognitive load of weighing yourself and trying to be perfect and control everything is going to be like a bubble bath for your brain.
I love that. A bubble bath for your brain. So you've reframed the goal, right? You've reframed the metrics. Now let's talk about the day to day because I think the way that we think about food completely changes once we hear this. Everything we've talked about today points to one core shift in how you approach food. You stop thinking about what to take away and you start thinking about what to add in.
Thank God.
We all
Instead
big
of
sigh of relief.
big sigh. I get to eat more. And we're going to tell you how. So instead of I need to eat less, we need to say I need to eat more protein. I need to eat more fiber, more color, and more hydration, especially earlier in the day and in anticipation of the moments that I know are hard, AKA that little happy hour witching hour. So instead of saying, like, oh, I can't have that, we say, oh, did I hit my protein today? Did I get enough vegetables? Did I get enough water? When all of those boxes are checked, you'll start naturally crowding out all the foods that don't serve your goals. And it's not through willpower. Again, this is biology. Okay. You are giving your body what it needs so it doesn't freak out around 3 p.m. when you haven't given it what it needs all day and it's wondering if you're gonna. So through volume, satiety, and stability.
This makes me think of another phrase that I love, which is eat the frog. I've said this on previous episodes in the past. Eat the frog. Do the hard thing first. Do the thing that you don't want to do first. If you are someone like I used to be that was like, I just hate vegetables. I don't like vegetables because all I thought vegetables were was like frozen broccoli. Find ways to make them good. Eat those first, even if that means putting a little cheese on it, cooking your Brussels sprouts and bacon. Who doesn't love Brussels sprouts and bacon? That's amazing. Do that first. Eat your protein, eat your vegetables. And then if you still want a little sweet treat at the end of the day, great. You can have a little sweet treat at the end of the day because there's a reason why this works. When you front load protein, fiber, and water, you stabilize your blood sugar, which means you're not riding that hunger gremlin roller coaster all day and then you get to 4 p.m. and then you're reaching for whatever is fast and convenient. Maybe that means a stop at Taco Bell or whatever on your drive home. You're no longer white knuckling your day and you're giving your body what it actually needs to quiet down that chaos.
And this is the scarcity versus abundance mindset. Eat less, shrink. That is scarcity. Be small, be quiet. Take a little corner in the gym. Just do a little bar class. No, we want you to gain muscle.
No.
No, we want you to gain muscle, eat more of the foods that actually build the muscle, and perform better and have more years in your life, that is abundance. And when I'm telling you, I'm coaching dozens of women through this. The women who make the shift like this, they never go back. Like the moment it clicks and they're like, oh, I'm eating to fuel. I'm like, yes, she has arrived. And that is genuinely
Yay.
we're like, she's here. And that's the most freeing feeling. And you can have that around food too.
Can you do it all on your own?
Now, you can figure it all out on your own, maybe. eventually, but with a lot of trial and error, and you'll have to sift through a lot of noise on Instagram, and it'll take a lot of time. But the women that we coach usually get there about 3 months or less. And not just because they're more motivated than anyone else or because anything's totally magically different or because they have more discipline. It's because they have a system, a tried and true system and a guide, an accountability guide. When things get a little rocky, you're like, "Do I keep paddling?" And you're like, "Yes." Someone who actually can look at your specific situation, audit all of your good, bad, and ugly, and say, "This is what your body needs right now. This is why. And this is exactly how to do it. Put your blinders on and go ahead." And the right person at the right stage of your fitness journey can genuinely change the entire game for you now and forever.
And this is so important, not just because, like, we're saying we have all the answers or that you're going to give up your scale and you'll just automatically be improved. You will have days where your body image is trash, where you look at yourself, maybe it's right before your period, and you're like, I am hideous. How does anyone love me? Those days will come, but that's what a coach is for. We are there to be your sounding board, just like you've gone to maybe therapy for any conflicts you've had. Your trainer or your coach should be there to guide you through those mental hurdles and obstacles because they will arise. And we are here to keep you objective with your eyes on the prize and to keep you from spinning out. So here's the ask. If you take away one thing from today, let it be this. We are not trying to weigh less. We are trying to build more muscle, more strength, more confidence, more life. The scale is just a you versus you battle that you're never going to win. So choose goalposts that actually matter. Choose the metrics that go up, choose the strategy that is designed to work, not the one that society tells us again and again and again and keeps us in the loop.
And if you want support in doing that, achieving your body recomp the most direct and least painful way possible, come find us. I'm taking on a handful of more clients for my one-on-one coaching. Kelsie is also taking on clients both in person and remote and has her lifting for beginners guide for women. So between the two of us, we have a lot of options for you to get in the gym and lifting and not making the same mistakes that we did. Our DMs are always open for you. And as always, connect with us on Instagram at overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, at Kelsie Michelle. And please go check us out on Spotify and check us out on YouTube. I mean, we look really pretty today. So come look at us, come hang out with us.
And we will
And we'll
see
see
you
you
in
in
the
the
next
next
episode.
episode.